work as we know it is going away. If you're a teenager now, a robot will be very capable of looking after you when you're 250 years old because they're going to solve aging. This is the dial-up internet era of AI. If you're a law firm or a consultancy, everything around that you can augment with AI. I really do believe that you can stick your head in the sand and try and ignore this wave that's coming in. But if you're still doing that in 3 years, you're doomed.
Hello and welcome to today's episode. I'm Cellular, partner of Bain & Company, where I lead much of our work on AI-driven pricing and transformation. Today's guest is Piers Linney, entrepreneur, investor, and of course best known for his time as a dragon on BBC's Dragon's Den. Most recently, he's been co-founder and executive chairman of the award-winning Implement AI, a company that supports businesses understanding and deploying digital workforces. He's built businesses across technology, media, telecoms, and professional services, and one of the most prominent voices in the UK advocating for digital transformation. Piers, it's brilliant to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Many people will know you from Dragon's Den, but I think your journey started rather before that. Could you give us a little bit about your background and how you ended up investing and building those tech businesses?
Right. So I've quite a varied sort of background, really. So I grew up in Lancashire in a mill town, which is quite interesting when you look like me. My mum's from Barbados, my dad was from Manchester. And I was fascinated by like the entrepreneurs of like the Industrial Revolution, right? Because I grew up literally in the Pennines where it happened. You could see mills and weavers' cottages, and it fascinated me. And then I was sort of always like wheeler dealing. I had a paper round. I was selling candles, mail order. I was doing all sorts of stuff. I was always kind of in business one way or the other from the age of 13. But then I was quite interested in like history, and then I did a law A level. I thought I like law, so I thought I want to be a lawyer. And everybody's kind of like, mate, people like you go to schools like yours don't become lawyers, right? It was all quite Oxbridge in those days, and I was kind of like, I want to be a lawyer. So eventually, I became a lawyer, and then when I was a lawyer in the city, I realised that I enjoyed it, but it wasn't me long term. And someone said to me, you should go an investment banker. So I thought, I want to be an investment banker. And everybody said to me, yeah, Piers, people like you don't get into investment banking. And to be fair, in most cases, they were right. And I did struggle. It was as hard as getting into law. But eventually I became an investment banker. So and once you're into the city, it became a meritocracy, really. No one cared what school I went to. I was in the city. I was a banker. I was at Credit Suisse. It was Credit Suisse first, Boston then. And did about 3-4 years there, M&A, cross-border leveraged buyouts. And so my core skill set, really, if people ask me, what is it? I'm actually a corporate financier. I then left Credit Suisse, the dot-com boom, started my first, got involved in the first dot-com wave, started a dot-com business just before the crash, although that did kind of continue in a guise afterwards. And then I kind of went back into finance in a way, raising money from hedge funds, structured debt and equity finance in sort of small cap traded companies in the UK, the US and Germany, made a bit of money, invested it in businesses, and they kind of grew over time. And then I sort of became a poacher turned gamekeeper, became a hedge fund manager. So I was investing in these special situations, made a bit more money, investing it. And some of the businesses I invested in there, some didn't work out. Some I'm still involved in today. They became quite lifestyle businesses. They kind of pay dividends. Well, some became quite big, 50 million revenue, 5 million EBITDA. And I kind of sold them eventually, some of them. So I've been in technology, but I'd say most of my businesses are kind of like enterprise IT. I've invested in like SaaS companies and deep tech companies. And now I'm on the board of a space related business, Zen.
Wow.
We have cameras on the International Space Station. So I've always been fascinated by the next gen. So whether it's, the internet, I had a cloud computing business, whether it's space, whether it's athletes bikes and additive manufacturing, they're all exponential technologies. And now, of course, all of that, everything I've done, it feels like to me, has kind of built up and compounded into my interest and ability to understand and build a business focused on AI. So Implement AI, really about deploying digital workers. So my story is, and that's a short version, right? I can do a podcast on each section of that if you wanted me to, but that's a short version. And then because I ticked some boxes and then I made a bit of money, and I know my story ended up being on the that lists the most influential Black Britons.
Wow.
And I was picked up by researchers. I did the Secret Millionaire program. It's like 2011 now. And then in 2014, 15, whenever it was, I ended up on Dragon's Den.
Mm.
But the thing about Dragon's Den is they endlessly keep playing it in clips on TV. So even today, young shop assistants recognize me.
Wow.
So in a way, I'm glad it didn't define me. But it's still very much there. And let's face it, I probably wouldn't be on this podcast talking to you and your podcast if I hadn't been on Dragon's Den. So, it's had its two sides to that coin.
Mm.
It opens doors, people take your call. But you never want to be defined by it.
No, what was life like as a dragon? You've got your main business and then you're on TV as well. That seems a difficult thing to balance.
Yeah, people often say to you, "Oh, what was it like being a dragon?" You're like, So if you sum it up, it was probably 10 weeks of my life of filming 10 years ago. That's it. That was my life as a dragon. It was a fleeting moment in the rest of my life. But, because of the profile of it, I do keynotes and, I've been on the board of the British Business Bank during COVID when we, went from 12 billion to 90 billion of finance in the economy to support SMEs. So I got to do things I probably wouldn't have done otherwise. So it's had that impact on. But as a dragon, really, it was
10 weeks.
Crazy if you think about it. I went to some Milltown Comprehensive, ended up, working in the city, and then I found myself with Sir Richard Branson on his private game reserve, Ulusaba, in the Kruger National Park in South Africa.
Wow.
Talking to him about whether he thinks I should become a dragon on Dragon's Den, which it just was bonkers. So I kind of take these things in my stride, but sometimes you have to stop and kind of realise that, that doesn't happen to everybody.
Almost by definition. Why did you decide no longer to be a dragon, or is it just that it was 10 weeks? That's great, it's great fun, but now we need to move on? Or
well, partly that. I did 2 years. I probably invested £500,000. I did very well at Dragon's Den. I invested in Lost My Name, Wonderbly, which has now been bought by Penguin. So I think in terms of investment,
was that the best?
Invested, sold for cash. That's probably the best deal ever on Dragon's Den. I won't go into the exact numbers; they're not public, but you're looking at a 45, 50x, right?
Wow!
So I did it, but and then that was probably 9 handshakes, 6 deals actually happened. Did it all happen? People get better offers. They wait. They're there for the PR, or you do due diligence, and sometimes what they told you isn't quite the reality. So did 9 handshakes, 6 deals, 4 I got my money back. 1 went out of business, and 1 returned the fund. If you understand venture.
Yeah.
So it's like a portfolio, like a venture portfolio almost. But at the time, I was kind of busy. They were changing the format. Should we have up to 11 different dragons? And then also my company at the time, the share price was in the toilet. So that wasn't great either, both in terms of PR and my focus. So it was just time to go, really.
Absolutely. And was there anything that really surprised you about the whole thing?
Well, I did the Secret Millionaire, so I've done TV.
Okay, so you understood the TV.
Well, that was different though. That was more. It was about me on a journey.
You. Yeah.
I actually ended up in spending most of my time at young offenders in Wolverhampton, and I met a young black lad there. Let's call him Ethan. And Ethan, I kind of mentored him a little bit. I gave him a job, opened a few doors. I was the uncle he never had. And, he was in prison, he got 11 years, I think, or something ridiculous.
Wow.
So, like 6 or 7. And then he came out and I gave him some support. And now, what was it? God knows how many years later. 14 years later, good grief. He's now doing very well for himself, earning, almost 200 grand a year and has got a family. So it just shows you, just like me, if someone helps you, if you're listening to this podcast, you've got a lot of social capital. And if you sort of use some of that sometimes just to point people in the right direction or open a door or spend half an hour with them, those little deflections today, you don't think they do much, but downrange, right, it can mean that kind of change to somebody's life.
That's massive.
So that was Secret Millionaire, and then I ended up on Dragon's Den, I guess because I had a bit of a profile, but they were very different. So TV is a funny thing, and obviously the world's moved on since then. Social media wasn't really a big thing then. Media's kind of, it's breaking up, it's breaking down into niches, it's diffusing, people are in echo chambers. And I think that the thing about Dragon's Den is there aren't many moments in business, let's face it, that you want to point a camera at. Because most of it is hard
Very
work.
boring.
Yeah, mundane, boring admin, and it takes
Yeah.
a decade for anything to actually happen. So that moment where you put your dreams, aspiration, business idea, invention, whatever it might be, on a table, and somebody with a bunch of 50s says, nah, no, or yes, as the case may be, that's televisual. The rest
Yeah.
of it isn't. So that's why it's still there and it still works and people still watch it.
Yeah.
Business is hard to do on TV.
Yes, I can't imagine the spreadsheet show being a particularly
No.
well-watched show.
Filling out your VAT returns on BBC One
Yeah.
at 6 p.m.
Giving me flashbacks into what I need to do this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. You've seen it all.
And you mentioned implement AI briefly at the start, but what is it that's keeping you busy right now? And why is that something that you put all your energy in?
Yeah, so you have some businesses you do well, you exit, you make money, some don't, you don't, right? And I've done okay for myself. And I keep trying to retire and go plural. So I was on the board of British Business Bank. I advise Sky on diversity and inclusion. I've advised, Jaguar Land Rover on future strategy, lots of different things like that. But about 2.5 years, 3 years ago, ChatGPT 2 was arrived. I looked at it and thought, this is a game changer. And to cut another very long story short, there's a great book by, you maybe read it, Mustafa Suleyman, who was one of the founders of Google DeepMind. Now he runs Microsoft AI. And he wrote this book called The Coming Wave. And it's worth reading. There's lots of books to read. That's one of them. And this coming wave, I could see that this wave offshore, it's like a tsunami, the sea's gone out, you're standing on the beach and something big's about to happen. And I looked at it and thought, this is going to be the biggest opportunity in the economy in my lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Throughout my whole lifetime. Potentially the biggest opportunity in the economy there will ever be in terms of transformation. So that was number one.
Yeah.
Number two, it's just fascinating. In terms of, you look at my background, my interest, this is like the cherry on the cake in terms of, it's technology and now it's intelligence. And then you've got another facet too, which is a bit more sort of thought leadership, which is just what it means for us and society and policy, institutions, government. What the hell are my children going to do when they grow up? There's all that aspect to it as well. So I think it's business, it's an opportunity, but it's transformative on so many levels. So I couldn't just let it pass. And I knew Alot, who's the CEO and my co-founder. We met on a podcast actually I did for NatWest it must be like 6-7 years ago now. And we got chatting and we got on with it. And he had been doing stuff in kind of health tech with machine learning. He's a dentist by training. And then I kind of understood it was more machine learning. For my days, I was a trustee of Nesta, the UK's largest innovation foundation. Got 600 million endowments, probably more than that now. It keeps compounding. And I kind of knew that we looked at the impact of automation on different parts of the economy. So say, for example, you've got a large concentration of people working in call centres, and call centres go away, which is going to happen. They're going to dematerialise and go to the cloud, apart from very specific edge cases. What happens to that area in terms of, jobs, education, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
I looked at it from that perspective. We got together and thought, and we talk about it every weekend, like, we should do that. What about this? And I thought, right, enough's enough. And we started implementing AI. So we spent about 3 years, 2.5 years, working with SMEs, kind of doing what you do in a way, and trying to understand how do they help them approach it, understand it, and implement it, and do pilots. And through the pilot process, we kind of learned through lots of insights about, okay, well, what do SMEs, and some quite large companies actually, what do they really need to implement and use this technology? And based on those insights, we built a platform, and that's called the AI OS. And that's what we're now taking to market. So we raised about 2 million in seed finance from private investors, and now we're just looking at scaling it.
And what sort of businesses would use this?
It's literally any business.
Anyone.
I mean, if you've got, it's probably not a startup, it's all in someone's head. If you've got revenue, processes, people, prospects, customers, infrastructure, assets, compliance, whatever it might be, you can use artificial intelligence. And it's not about getting rid of people yet. That's a whole different podcast. That day is coming. Work is going away, right? The internet is going away. Lots of things are going away, as well as call centres. But you look at that and you realise that, the opportunity in almost any business to deploy this technology to currently augment your human resource. So do things humans can't do at the velocity they can't do it, and at the scale, because they can obviously do concurrent processes. Working with humans, so I always say there's almost like three vectors: value, velocity, and variability. So if it's kind of like low, medium value AI, high velocity, like a fighter pilot tracking 200 targets, humans can't do that. It's AI. If it's low variability, like a clean, linear workflow, it's AI. If it's the opposite, so it's kind of high value, you're not going to sell a private jet with an AI agent ringing somebody up.
No.
It's high variability. So someone does a bit of this and a bit of that, and on Tuesday they do that, and they go and get your coffee and dry cleaning. AI is not going to be very good at that at all. And then if it's kind of like, I'd say, velocity, it's quite low. It's kind of humans. But everything in the middle is a mixture of the two. And that's how we kind of approach it. So where we look at it is, what it allows you to do is to grow revenue, the revenue you've got, in ways you probably couldn't do before, by using data and your customers and your prospects. Grow capacity. And the idea, what we want to do is, as you grow most businesses, your margin doesn't change. So we want to detach your cost of sale and your expenses from your revenue growth. So you've got greater margin, more profit, you apply it back in the business, and that essentially higher dividends, more profit, wealth creation. That's the way I look at it. And the last thing we focus on really is, with AI, you can improve experiences in terms of engagement, understanding, personalization. So there's all these things. And I always say, we don't do a lot of like heavy manufacturing or, like heavy industrial. But now we're talking to light industrial businesses. So it's any business, literally. And if you're regulated, you might not be automating yet. Always say yet in AI. Yet the regulated activity. One day the regulators will not want humans to touch it. They'll want AIs to do it because it'll be infallible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's going to flip from you can't use AI to you must use AI.
100%. Absolutely right. Just don't quite know when. So the regulators now say, oh, you can't diagnose stuff. You can't give financial advice. They're the obvious ones. Fine. Well, don't use AI. But everything around that, if you're a law firm or a consultancy, everything around that, especially regulated businesses, you can augment with AI.
Any of your clients, which is the way they've used it's been particularly inspirational? Or
We've got growing case studies, and it's really interesting actually. So some are very big companies. I won't mention all the names on here, but they're kind of testimonials. But some are ones for FTSE 100, right? It's got 5 billion in revenue. And they're using AI call agents to reactivate customers,
Yeah.
And they're big companies. And then because it works. Then you got a great example I like is, it was in recruitment quite recently. So you've got this recruitment business. They do a lot of recruitment for the construction industry. And as you know, there's probably more demand for people working in construction than there is supply, or you just can't find them. So you imagine you've got a room full of people, 4 or 5 people on the phone all day. It's soul destroying. Hello, it's so-and-so. Do you know who we are? Yes, great. What do you do? Right. Are you available for work? Oh, yes, great. Oh, you're not. When will you be? Blah, 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 blah. It's a 10-minute conversation. Then they've got to type it all up into some database, CRM, soul destroying. So they've got 200,000 people on their database. With that team, they can get through 5,000 a year. And as we all know, if you ever run a business, no one updates the CRM properly because they can't bother. And they're only going to do what they've been told to do in the script because that's what they're being measured on. So we set up an agent that made those phone calls, and it made, I'll try and get the numbers right, 2,500 phone calls in 4 hours. You could halve that or double it because there could be more agents doing it concurrently if you wanted to. You could do, 5,000, the same, whatever. Had 650 phone conversations and booked 50 jobs. Not only that, it's extracted all the information perfectly, updated CRM perfectly, and the competitor analysis. Oh, so you're currently working. Who got you that job? Oh, it was this firm. Oh, right, okay. Where are they based? Oh, they're here. Oh, right. So suddenly, not only you... And this is why I struggle. People try and compare. We call them digital workers. And people try and compare them with human workers. So my co-founder, Alok, wrote a great article. He calls it production capacity units, PCU, versus FTE. So an FTE is a human. A PCU, if you think about it, the more that becomes digitized in knowledge work and cognitive labor, and then eventually you've got robotics, and we're looking at AI agents that operate robots and control the data and manage the data. So as you go digital cognitively and digital in terms of embodied AI with sensors on legs, what you're looking at is capacity using GPUs competing with FTE. And FTEs are different. They can't do things out of hours. They can't do things at pace. It's a velocity again. So you can't really compare the two. So the successful businesses are the ones that are going to work out how to use this capacity in their business with their FTEs.
Do you
I'm aren't I? Someone in the wrong job. I should be consulting. But yeah, so we need these frameworks to explain this stuff.
Totally. Talking to other businesses about it, how are you using it in your own business? I think that's one of the most popular things people want to know about OpenAI, and I'd love to ask the same thing of you.
Yeah, so we are a bit typical startup. You're selling stuff, we should be using it more yourself, but we're so busy doing it for customers, we don't often do it for ourselves. Now, that has changed. So what we've done really recently, actually, is we were kind of selling, pilots, which is a bit kind of open-ended. So let's just, what do you think you should automate this? Okay, let's build a pilot. But now we've got a very defined product set with very defined product description. It's going to evolve very quickly over time. But as of today, it is like a menu. So you can have standard agent, advanced agent, standard task, advanced task, simple integration, complex integration, computer use agent, API, and that kind of thing. So what we're doing in our business is going through our business and automate as much as possible. And what's fascinating is we had it's like yesterday, we've got this kind of product definition kind of pinned down now. It's all there. The AI's got it. And then now I've got a customer, a prospect actually, who's saying, but we want an AI to do this. So now you can just say, right, okay. So you map it across and the AI will say, well, based on that customer and its prospects, these are what it needs. Therefore, it's this plan. So they can almost start selling. So things like first line support.
Yeah.
Things like, well, some credit control. We're more like a SaaS and we'd have a lot of credit issues. But you could have our support. The one for us, if you think about it, a SaaS company, take Canva. You put your credit card in and you use it. That's it.
Yeah.
Easy, super scalable, fantastic. VCs love it. Then you got managed services, sit down, work it out, scope it, SOW, have a project, it all goes pear-shaped and everyone gives up. Managed services or software development project. So we're kind of much more towards a SaaS, but the jam in our sandwich, the real value add is we deploy these digital workers, they're highly configurable to work in your business the way that you need them to work or want them to work to differentiate. Because once everybody's got AIX in from SaaS Y, it's like having a calculator or spell check. Everyone's got it. So our agents are very different, is that you're setting it up to do work the way you actually want it to. So we then need to do the same in our business. So when we recruit people, we're saying to them, right, we're going to recruit you, but build a team of AIs around you. And what we need is like an egg timer. We need to automate more and more of our config setup. So as we distill it more and define it more, we can then create blueprints, templates. So it'd be like an iceberg. There'd be 80% we can automate, and there'll be 20% actually, which is the secret sauce, the moat. And our view is that technology is amazing, it's fascinating, it's moving very quickly, but we're more focused on orchestration, implementation, and helping companies understand this. A bit of education. You need that, otherwise people don't know how it works. And the key thing is, there's no historical frame of reference for this. Unless you've seen an analyst agent, a call agent, a support agent do its thing, you don't understand it. It's not cloud. You can't compare it to a server in a cupboard, to a server in the cloud. They do similar things. They're just a different way of, setting it up and the way you pay for it. This is fundamentally different, but you've got to see it to believe it.
Other things that you do that can really help make that tangible to people? because you say seeing it to believe it. How do you help them get over that hump if they're not sort of a digital native?
So a lot of our customers, they do range from quite technical to people who I've heard about AI and I need to do something. What's that look like? So we've got programs on the platform. So the program is really, we call it the AIOS pilot program, what's called AI Activate. AI Activate is where we take you through look at your business, look at your workflows, look at your processes, pick several of them, pilot it, see where the ROI is, and then you deploy that in production. You can do that. Or you can say, I want a sales team. Great. Boom. You're on our platform straight away. So, but there's some education. So part of what we're doing actually is through our content. If you follow me, or I look on LinkedIn, on our website, we do webinars, we do events. Events work really well, where we're talking about it and educating people about. You don't need to worry about all the ins and outs of it, right? We deliver again from our insights over 2 years, managed agents. We're not expecting anybody, to understand how this stuff all works. And then what we then do is, as the technology improves, we update the platform. So all boats rise, but then we help you, the customer, the client, set up your agents, either, singular or horizontally working together, or lots of them doing similar things, so that you're differentiated. And we help you do that. And the other thing we're sort of building over time is more like a channel as well. So we're kind of, my background's channel. So building this for lots of partners as well. The different go-to-market, but again, we're building bridges across chasms here.
Yeah, thinking about people who are maybe a bit more skeptical, maybe some founders, they're wanting to sort of ride this wave without drowning in the hype.
Yeah.
Where would you say, which sectors do you think are being overlooked at the moment? Because you talked about some which are really picking it up. You mentioned the call centres, but where?
I don't think anybody is, to be honest. You look at any sector. I do lots of events and keynotes, and I'm all over the country talking to people in different sectors. And I talk about AI, and everyone looks at me blankly. And I ask them who uses AI in their business. A couple put their hand up. Who uses it? The main sign I think is who uses it personally.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this or watching this, and you're not using an AI almost every day for research, as a sidekick, as someone to give you feedback, as a flipping, I don't know, life coach, whatever. Supporting your mental health. Got to be slightly careful about that. But whatever.
Yeah. And
you don't really understand the power of it. Making a picture, taking a picture of your living room, saying, I'm bored of the living room. This is what I like. This is the kind of, here are some designs I saw. How do you think I should redesign my living room? And it'll just do it for you and show you. Won't be quite the same, but it'll be similar to the actual dimension of the living room. It'll do it. Create a video of yourself, I don't know, with your favourite sports team, playing the game and scoring a try or a goal, whatever it is. You can do all this stuff, but until you do it yourself, it gets hard to appreciate the power of the technology. So that's the first one. The next one really is just, I really do believe that you can stick your head in the sand and try and ignore this wave that's coming in. But if you're still doing that in 3 years, you're doomed.
Really doomed.
I mean that. You will not be competitive.
And there do seem to be some people who think, well, it's a bubble. Well, it might be a bubble, but it's also very, very real.
I agree with you. So I think there may be some hype and fluff in it. I don't think it's about the internet. I always give the example of, I always sit down on the floor in a room, and near the floor I do the Amazon share price graph, and I kind of say, 1996 it was here, and it went to here, and then you had the dot-com bubble burst, and it fell to here, and then you say, and now it's gone through the ceiling to the next floor. So it depends where you zoom out. I think there might be some hype in AI, there might be some overvaluation, and you might get a correction. But if you zoom out in 3 years, it's going to be like Amazon going for the roof. And the point here is that what you're seeing now, I wrote an article about this on my LinkedIn newsletter, is like when I was a young banker in 1997 till 2000-ish, it was all about ISPs. It was Cisco was the most valuable company in the world. It was piping, infrastructure, wires, connectivity. That's what everyone was excited about. And that's what you're getting today. It's NVIDIA. You know, it's open AI, it's Grok, it's the AI models. That's not where the value. It's fabs. Everyone's talking about that stuff. It's the same again. That's not where the value is going to accrue. The value is going to accrue in the AI equivalent of e-commerce, social media, blockchain, and AI. But obviously, 'cause that's what's sitting on top. That's cherry on that cake as well. That's where you're going to see the value accrue. And sitting here today, you don't really know what that looks like.
That's something that's been puzzling me as well. If we look at previous technological revolutions, when the introduction of the railways or the canals or electricity, or indeed, as you mentioned, the internet, it's not unusual for the companies at the very peak actually not to be the ones that have really accrued the value.
Great example, I'm sure you're familiar with, broadband. So how many fibre companies raise billions and billions and billions of pounds and dollars, whatever currency you care to choose, put this stuff in the roads? I remember growing up, you couldn't walk down a road without someone digging a hole in it. And they all went bust.
Yeah.
And they all got consolidated. And now, it became, Telewest, NTL, Virgin Media, now it's Daisy O2, wherever they are. So you're going to get that. But I think people are missing the misunderstanding that this is the dial-up internet era of AI. It literally is. And I used dial-up internet. And now I've got a Starlink on my posh van conversion, right? That took 30 years. The equivalent AI, and the one I use in my presentations, because people struggle to get their head around it, is, do you remember Will Smith eating spaghetti?
Indeed.
Right. So he had this rubbish, like, half video graphic, like a GIF of Will Smith sort of eating spaghetti. It's coming out of his ears, and it was rubbish. But at the time, it was quite amazing. A minute ago, I had a chatbot, and now there's something that looks a bit like Will Smith with spaghetti spawning out of everywhere. Now you look at Sora 2, VO3, whatever number we're on now, and it is HD quality. It's Hollywood quality. And not only that, it looks like Will Smith, depending on what platform you use. Some have got copyright blockers. But the main thing is now it does the audio.
Yeah.
And that exponential change took what, 2 years?
Yeah.
And the next time it'll be a year, 6 months, a month. So you see all these people talking about AGI and artificial general intelligence. And intelligence, it is better, cheaper, faster than us, all cognitive tasks, right? And don't listen to me. Go listen to Dario Amodei, Anthropic, Jensen Huang, NVIDIA, CEO of Microsoft, CEO of Google, academics, politicians, people who've done the research, people like yourself, who've done the research. And you know that something is coming. We don't quite know what or when. But at some point in the next, let's push the boat right out. 10 years. Probably 5. Let's go 10. You're going to have AGI. And AGI it's not artificial super intelligence, but it will be a natural step on the way to that. It will look to us, that thing about if you don't understand technology, it looks like magic.
Yeah.
It's going to be like that. And I think it's 5 years out, tops. And that is almost like an alien intelligence landing on our planet. Now, if we knew for sure that was going to happen, which I think is going to happen, in 5 years, an alien intelligence landing on our planet, everyone will lose their minds. The UN would be in constant session. There'd be politicians forming parties or merging together. Everyone would be going crazy. I don't see it. It's like that film, The Big Short. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah.
In that office, do you remember The Office? And they're looking down at everyone, going about their business. And they know everyone's mortgage is about to explode, but they don't know it yet. It's a bit like that, I think. That's why I look out the window. That's what I see.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm now sitting in front of Charing Cross Station, and I can see the people in front of me, and it's very much like that. A lot of people just don't realise what's coming.
No, and I think it's not just about business; it's about your career. I've got teenage children, right? And they ask me, "What should I do?" And I'm not going to dance around it. I don't really have an answer.
No.
I struggle with it sometimes. You say, "Oh, you want the soft skills," and I say the world's going to go full circle. It'll be more about the human experience, which is true. But we can't all be, we can't all have a band. So,
No, that'd be just as well in my case.
yeah, mine.
Fantastic. I would love to do a few thoughts on some hot takes in business.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most overrated trend in AI right now?
Overrated trend. That's interesting. I think it's vertical single agents. I'm not want to beat them up, but I think if you've got something that does one thing, I don't care
Yeah,
what your ARR is, right? I think you're on soft ground. I think
yeah,
you don't want to be doing anything that Google or Microsoft could do quite easily, and one day they're going to when they get their act together. So
yeah,
I think there's a lot of these AI companies. I think a lot of AI companies are growing, and you hear this a lot, yeah. And there's two sides to that coin about the rappers. So,
yeah,
everyone's a rapper of something, right?
yeah.
But the really thin ones, a lot of money's been thrown at it, and they think they've got something. But I think a lot of the AI companies that are doing single-use agents, I don't think there's much value in this. For example, we got people who say to us, "Oh, I've got an agent that I've paid for, right? And it does this." I'm like, "What does it do?" Oh, it does. It's a PA, or it looks at my emails, or it does support, whatever. And we're kind of like, "Oh, right, okay." We can spin that up in half an hour on our platform. Not only that, it's got memory integrations. It can talk to 10 other agents. You can, it can make phone calls, world class for voice capability. So that's the one I think is just like the internet. You mentioned it as well. You are going to get a shakeout. And part of what we do implement AI is try and avoid being part of that, which is why we're
Yeah.
more focused on not so much technology. We swap it out as and when we can, we're best to breed. It's more about the implementation. I don't think that's going away. Even if you had AGI, you still got to implement it.
Yeah, you really do. And that's the tricky bit. Thinking if I'm doing a big AI project, most of that time isn't writing models. It's actually making stuff work. It's
Yeah.
actually transforming the business. And until we've got robots doing that, which might take a while.
Yeah. I think on the flip side of that question, if I may,
Yeah,
is the most underlooked trend in AI.
yeah,
I think is robotics. I just
thinking
don't.
body.
I think people have seen too many robot false dawns, right?
Yeah,
They're kind of ignoring it. But you look at 1X figure O3. We've got a unitary humanoid quadrupeds. And, they're not doing much yet in terms of autonomy, but their capability in terms of doing flipping kung fu and black backflips. I mean, stuff that I can't do, right? And that's unitary. You look at like figure.
yeah,
It's literally autonomously. I'm not so sure about Tesla's Optimus, whether that's autonomous, but Figure is doing laundry, ironing, and loading your washing machine. Oh, and washing dishes and working in BMW factories. I think that's Figure. So I think that within that 5 year window, you might end up with AGI, but you're going to start seeing once they fix that. We have this humanoid robot, right? And we take it to events. It's great because people have interacting with it.
yeah.
And they walk over to it and they talk to it. It goes, "Oh, hello, it's called Destiny." And they'll shake hands with it and it'll do a wave, it can run. And they're like, "Oh, that's amazing." And then they get on with their lives. And I always look at it and I think, imagine in 1901, there's that famous photograph of Fifth Avenue of all the
Mm,
horse and carts. There's that one car. Then there's
yeah,
another picture a decade later. There are no horses. And I think what happened to that person, but they don't know it yet, is like when somebody first saw a car on Fifth Avenue in 1901, and they're
yeah.
going to come back in 1913, whenever it was, the next picture, and there were literally no horses. And they're going to look back on that day and think, you know what? That's the first time I saw a humanoid. It wasn't very good because it wasn't autonomous, but it is coming. And if you're a teenager now, a robot will be very capable of looking after you when you're 250 years old because they're going to solve aging. and,
And
and as you know, I'm sure you look at this as well. What you then get, flipping out, we could talk all day about this stuff, is exponentials on exponentials. So now you've got,
yeah,
quantum's a bit more complicated, but you've got quantum and AI, do they compound? Then you've got quantum and genomics and healthcare, do they compound? We certainly already know that AI in healthcare compounds the exponential. So
Absolutely.
the things that DeepMind have been doing, and now there's an announcement I think today actually that Google has found some way of warming up cancer cells or something, and that's novel finding by an AI, not a human.
Yeah.
And that's when the world's really going to change. When we wake up every morning and some AI has just said, "Oh, overnight, have you?" I don't know if you've got I use ChatGPT Pro, and I've got this pulse thing, and I wake up in the morning, I look at it. I'm sure that it builds just to serve ads eventually, but I look at it and it goes, "Oh, hi, Piers. Last night I was looking at what you've been looking at and thinking, and I came up with this. What do you think?" And I look at it, I think that's actually pretty good. It's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah.
But now imagine this woke up in the morning and said, "Oh, I was thinking last night about how to solve cancer, and I've done it. Here you go. What do you think about this?" That's coming.
It is. How it comes, exactly when it comes, I don't know.
No.
But
Well, hopefully, depending how we're looking after each other and going to the gym, taking our supplements, something in our lifetime.
yeah, definitely hope so.
Yeah.
One of the people seem to fear is is job loss. And some people say AI won't replace jobs, it'll just make bad workers obsolete. What would you tell to someone who is fearing for their job about this?
So, my daughter's doing a business studies A level, so I went to a college
Yeah.
in Hertfordshire, and we had all the BTEC business A level business students in the room, and I don't dance around it, right? The teachers do, parents do, partly because they don't understand it. But if you're listening to this or watching this, and you've heard this before, I want you to sit down and just soak this up, right? Work as we know it is going away. It doesn't matter what you do. You can be a lawyer, you can be a plumber, you can be a consultant, you can be an entrepreneur with a business. But within my daughter's life and stepson's lifetime, they're now, teens, mid-teens, the cognitive labour will be worthless. Everything I've ever done. I hate to say it, something, probably what you do as well.
Yeah.
It's just going to be worthless. If AGI is better at us, faster than us, it's got perfect memory, perfect recall, it's got an IQ of 500, why do you need us to sit at a computer and tap on a keyboard and move a mouse and look at a screen? It's just gone, it's over. And then that technology will invent better robots and better robotics and better motors and better batteries, and then that physical labour goes away. I always say that if you use a keyboard at work, you've got 5 to 10 years. If you wear a tool belt, you've got 10 to 15. So in 20 years, a robot will quite happily climb under your sink and fix a pie. It'll accelerate. So to answer your question, we need to get our heads around it. Individuals, organisations, politicians, policymakers, the work as we know it is coming to an end.
So what do we do about it?
Well, it's inevitable. So it's not what we do about it, it's about what we do after it.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's exactly what I mean. It's like,
People say to me,
how do
"Oh,
you respond?"
what are we
Because
going to do?"
I'm not going on holiday.
Yeah, what we're going to do when I don't have to sit in front of a computer all day. I'm not going to try and poo-poo any particular career, or dig holes in the road, or work in a call centre, or be a fallible brain surgeon. Doesn't matter what you do. Is that why we evolved? I'm not convinced. It's just where we are today. So I think this is a step in the evolution of who we are, what we do, and how we define ourselves. And I'm actually writing a long essay about this, which I'll publish quite soon, hopefully. And you've got this kind of, I call it the reforged path and the fractured path. And the reforged one is you're going to have a moment of chaos because, as you know, politicians, institutions, policymakers, they're just slow. I'm a lawyer by training. Even regulators take time to catch up. And they're going to miss this because they can't move fast enough. There's going to be a lot of chaos and they're going to have to fix it. Hopefully that's the path. The worst case, and you may get this in some places where people stick their head in the sand, that they're led by maybe theology, I don't know, where they don't fix it and they're going to end up in a bit of a hole. So this path there's two of them, bifurcates really. And I'm hoping we're going to be on the first one as a country. But we need to rethink economics, education, politics to some extent, but definitely economics, education, and what we do all day. And most importantly, the favourite question is how we get paid. So
Yeah.
things like universal basic income, universal high income. That's Elon Musk's idea. I'm not sure that worked.
Yes.
Conditional basic income, where you got to do something constructive to get paid in the community. And not everybody wants to do that. There were 9.5 million people in the UK out of 43 million who are able to work that choose not to, right? And then you've got dividend trusts. There's all these AI businesses pool money, and we all share from the spoils. But then, how can we afford to buy stuff? I mean, I haven't got the answer, but did I write a book?
No.
And then I wouldn't have to work. But AGI will have the answer.
I suppose that's the irony, that it might actually have an answer.
Don't worry, ASI will solve it. But it's a
Yes.
great. I don't know if you saw the. It's got like a religious connotation at the end of it, but it's a fascinating book. The Isaac Asimov. He wrote this famous short story about they have this sort of AI, and they ask it every couple of thousand years, after a million years, after a billion years, and after a trillion years. What's the answer to stopping things coming to an end eventually? Entropy, and it hasn't got the answer. It never actually has the answer. But
And
on the way, it
yeah.
solved everything. It just couldn't solve the big question.
The big question.
And then go and read the book. Then there's a good ending to that. I'm not religious, but it is a good end.
It's certainly something I'm thinking about. Does AI need a god? But that's a bigger question.
Well, okay, the suspense is killing you. So the end of that Isaac Asimov, the universe just freezes, and this AI is now in the ether. It's like the film Her. There's no infrastructure. It's just floating around between quantum mechanics, between stuff. And the AI is sitting there in this dark void, and it's like, well, what do I do now? And he goes, well, this doesn't work. I need to do something. And it says, let there be light. And the rest of the story.
Wow. Somewhat linked to that, and almost sort of final question is, my son is 6 months old now, and I just don't know what.
Sorry to butt in.
Go on.
But he may never work. You ever thought about that?
I can't have that happening. Disaster.
You know what I mean, though? You think if you play it out,
Yeah, potentially.
he may never have to go to university, because you can do a flipping matrix, plug it in your head, and learn kung fu in a few minutes, or how to play the guitar. Yeah, I mean, my kids are teens, so it's a bit more in their face. But a 6-year-old may never have a job.
Sorry, he's 6 months old, so even more
6
so.
months old, yeah.
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 The trouble is, I don't know what I'd do without work. I've just come off on paternity leave, and even during that paternity leave, when I was being paid not to work,
No,
I still want to do that because I think it's really important. I mean, it gives me joy.
So I think, well, everyone's going to. I think we'll find some solution to that. But don't forget, populations are shrinking massively.
Yeah.
So we've got, people focus about AI, and there's other issues that, lots of economies, like China, for example, right? So the reason that, well, I'm not sure it's the only reason, but they're, let's face it, amazing at turning out kind of physical tools and robots and drones, whatever it might be, and cars, is because if they don't sort out robotics, they're going to have a major problem in terms of how the economy works, because their population is about to collapse, quite literally.
It's a huge issue. Wow.
So there's issues everywhere. This is one of them. I think that if you net out, right, let's just look at it. Let's net out, I haven't got a job, with solving nuclear fusion and solving aging and most horrible diseases that take the people we love too early. I know which one I'm going for.
Yeah, so I was thinking also putting a stop to selfishness and.
Well, I think we're still going to be selfish. That's human nature. But you can be selfish and old.
On that note, well, thank you very much. Really appreciated the time with you. It's
Thanks for having me.
real inspiration.